All right, here we are once again, episode 43 this time. I'm looking forward to this one, and you guys will see why, hopefully. Yeah, and once again, this looks like this actually is a full house. Well, you got to fix something here, but we've got a full cast of characters. We're going to see how we all do tonight in this 43rd episode. Playing quite a bit. And a lot's happened. And let's do our introductions. We're going to start off tonight. Alessandra, you're first. Introduce yourself and your character. Dizzy, what's going on?
Hello, I play Alessandra, the gunslinger Dampier, who is currently trying to make sure she stays alive, her group that she's with stays alive, and it's been one hell of a ride so far, and ready to rock and roll.
Rock and roll for sure. Awesome. Don't go down this time. And next up we got Rachel. Rachel number 1, playing Althea. What's going on, Althea?
Hey.
Rachel.
Nothing much. Today I'm playing Althea, which isn't really a big surprise because there's no way I'm switching out. She's still alive. I'm going to do my best to keep her alive. But yeah, she's going to be using her divine magic to not only help herself, but the other adventurers and the fellow companions.
Yes, you are. The companions, indeed. Kyle, you're up next, my friend.
How y'all doing?
Uh-oh.
I'm Kyle. I'll be playing Arthurian on this particular exchange, Dwarven fighter. We'll see if we can rock and roll and if I can plant a battle axe somewhere and see what we're all about. Playing the Death Wish fighters as usual. My specialty. We'll see how far we get on this one.
That's right. And next up is Eric, our newest player, but he's kind of he's a veteran at this point. Played about 2 or 3 games, right?
Yeah, I try to get in 2 games a week.
There you go.
My name is Eric. I'll be playing Cassandra, the orphaned warrior who uses her knowledge of the body to crush her foes with her hands and feet and to patch up the injuries of her party members, for whom she's glad to have made acquaintance and hopefully become friends with.
Excellent. And she's a good healer. I know that. And finally, we got Jesse. What's going on, Jesse? What are you doing?
Doing good. I'm Jesse, and of course I play Sheppy, our resident little ball of fire that loves to burn and just kill things. We shall see what happens tonight. If Sheppy holds up his balls of fire.
Yes. Fire. Elemental sorcerer. That's what that's all about. Awesome. Great. And that's our cast of characters tonight. We're all set up on the map. Just fought a big battle. But hey, I'm going to save that story for Rachel because she's going to be doing, as best as she can, she's a note taker, the recap. So go for it, Rachel. Tell us what happened last time in the Abomination vaults. As best you can.
Yes, of course, as best as I can.
No pressure.
I may take notes, but I don't know if I'm as enthusiastic as some others may be. So to get right into it, so after the battle in that circular chamber, the companions freed the chained man that was actually identified to be Lazda, the rowdy rockfish owner's son. He revealed what had happened to him while he was there. He said that he was tortured in a spiked cage by vile creatures with blue flesh and yellow eyes, and then brought there. Kind of keeping his health in mind and his safety, the companions backtracked, and Lofter and Akara carried Lazda back to town, but as they tried to exit, in that dining room area, they were introduced to Cassandra. And although she's not the most charismatic of the bunch, She was very eager to help treat the injured people in the party, and boy, were they very lucky that she was down there in the I wouldn't say dungeon, but beneath the gauntlight. They were lucky she was there. So once that was resolved, all the healing and getting to know her, getting to know Cassandra, she actually agreed to join the party, and they went through the tunnels, the long hallway where there was that lining of coffins. So they had gone through the natural tunnel, and then they were where they had met another previous character in that hallway lined with coffins, and this led to another cavernous chamber where, and in my notes, Cassandra found and ate a mushroom, a highlight. But as they traveled south, Althea shared with the others what had happened, because I think she, other than Arthurian, was one of the only people that had seen, that had been there. Maybe Sheppy too. That the I forget his name. Somebody help me. The guy with the wolf, the mysterious man that blocked the
Old
way.
Mesman.
There you go. But yeah, he was no longer there. But she had explained that the last time she was in this chamber, she had been on the other side of the water, with the other companions. When the companions continued on their way, they found a chute leading to a pool of filth, and it was some sort of ooze. And the companions investigated this, and then they went further south to keep looking around, but that's when they stumbled upon a familiar, like, wispy creature and a glowing skull beside an area of stagnant water. They kind of gave a fight and defended against the electrical attacks from the creatures as best they could. At one point, Arthurian became confused. He couldn't tell his left from his right, and he actually attacked Althea. Alessandra went down, and the others heard strange voices speak, saying, "Oh no, I think they've been killed." And they also heard sounds of crying and moaning. And of course, that skull ended up disappearing before they could finish it off. The others were defeated. But this leaves us to where we are now, healing, tending to our wounds, everyone kind of leaning in towards Cassandra. Please patch this. Help, I need your help. But in the midst of this recovery, and we're all still recovering and shaking in our boots, we kind of peeked around the corner. And then I'll pass it over to you, Fritz.
Excellent. That was pretty good. And you're going to get an extra hero point, so you'll have 2 going into the session. So make sure you update your sheet. I'm sure it'll come in handy. And let me do one more thing. If anyone needs the link to the stream, I'm going to post that because it's a different link. I'll post it in the Discord chat here, in the voice chat, because the link is different for some reason. Yeah. Mess up on my end. Anyway. Very good, Rachel. And all right. So here we are, once again deep under the gauntlight. Several levels. It's pretty dark. It's pretty damp. Drips can be heard off the walls in this cavernous area. There's a pipe that looks to be some type of chute or a slide. Arthurian is currently lying under that, looking up at it. Sheppy, you look into the pool of water where the chute ends, over to the east. And you smell the stench. You're very accustomed to this smell. It doesn't bother you. Although the others might hold their noses, you don't bother. There at the end of this chute looks to be some decayed, rotting, monstrous-type creature with tentacles and arms just lying lifeless at the end of this chute. I'm not sure what it is. You poke it a few times, perhaps. Give it a good kick. It's certainly dead. And quite rotten. You just got done fighting these creatures that seem to come out of nowhere. Well, actually, they came from the south. But one of them, which you've seen before, these floating skulls, seem to disappear and then reappear and attack, shooting electrical arcs at everyone. Did quite a bit of damage. Scary. But then it disappeared. Didn't seem to come back. The flickering wisps, the other ones, you managed to defeat. Surely, you defeated them. Silence hits the companions. You take advantage of that lull. You do some healing. Cassandra, the newest member of the companions. Strange, not very talkative, but quite friendly and useful. She broke out her healer's tools and began wrapping things. Wrapping wounds. So you've now had enough time to do a little bit of healing and recovering, Althea, taking some time, doing some motions to Desna, chanting, gaining back some of her powers. She is, after all, a devoted cleric of Desna. Alessandra, cleaning once again, always meticulously keeping her flintlock pistols clean and immaculate, ready for action at a moment's notice. Everyone seems to have taken advantage of that little lull of about a half an hour. Althea, you are the source of light for this group currently. Let's go through that. What is the source of light? I seem to always forget.
This is my light spell.
Right. So I have the light source on you. Your shoes, I believe.
You are correct.
Yep. So this white magical energy just fills the chamber. Otherwise would be darkness. Except for you, Arthurian and Sheppy. And I'm not sure about the Alessandra, but we'll leave that. You're sitting here now. You've peeked further into the south in the cavern where the water lies, seeing a glow and hearing an ethereal cry. Something weeping. Not constantly, but every once in a while the silence is broken by this weeping. And then silence. You've kind of peeked in there a little bit and seen some strange glow up ahead coming from the east of the core, but you haven't really stepped deep into this area as of yet. There is water before you. It doesn't look too deep, but it is dark and murky.
We ought to be careful here. Could be another trap.
Alessandra is going to ever so slowly, carefully step into the water and press her back completely flat as she can against the rock. Just slowly scooching her way forward to see if she can get a glimpse around the rock, but not have her weapons completely drawn yet.
Ah. You have them holstered?
They're not holstered. She has them in her hands, but they're not brought up.
Okay, so they're out.
Mm-hmm.
ready at a moment's notice. You step into the water. The others see you moving forward. You continue forward, just enough pressing against the natural cavern wall, looking to the east where there seems to be some type of glow. I'm going to move you forward on the map, just enough to simulate peeking around that corner.
Okay.
Now, before we go any further, how about the rest of you? I don't need a full-on marching order, but just who would like to be following up behind her, if anyone?
I'll give it a go.
Okay, Arthur, and you step forward, curious as to what Alessandra is up to. You move in close behind her, I imagine. How about the rest of you? Althea, what about you? Where are you right now? While this is happening.
Oh boy. She's going to be in the exact spot you see here. Not moving, but you'll see her rummaging through her things.
Okay.
And
Cassandra.
she pulls out the star knife,
Ah.
the one she
star.
received as a gift.
Okay. Cassandra, you see this. What are you doing?
Cassandra will walk by Althea and just look to her for approval, as though to say, "I'm going to back up the dwarf," but she does it silently, sort of like with an indication of her eyes.
Okay. Sheppy, you're rooting around, kicking that little beastie in the water. What are you up to? You see these... You paying attention to what's
Sheppy's-
going on, or...
Sheppy's thinking about the last time he was here. And he remembers the green ribbon going towards this direction. Is this the direction that it went? Remember, it made a message on the door? Did it go this way?
Yes, you remember this. This is not too long ago. You had originally come down here and you had walked on that platform that's setting in the water behind you. That pavilion of sorts, and you encountered that wolf and this strange individual. What was the question? I totally forgot.
Was this the direction that the ribbon
Yes.
went off to?
If you remember,
Okay,
you followed down the steps, and when you came down the steps and came onto this pavilion, you remember catching sight of that green ribbon that you were originally following and pursuing, and it disappeared to the south, which you are currently located in. So it went in this direction out of sight, and you never followed up on that. But this is the direction.
Sheppy's going to move down and whisper what he remembers to Althea about the ribbon. This is definitely the direction that the ribbon went. It gave us directions before. Maybe this has something to do with it.
If you want to go check it out, go for it. Maybe they are related, but I took a peek over there. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I can just approach it.
We can always run. Let's check it out.
Arthurian will approach it.
No. Alessandra, do you go further into the water, hugging the wall, the north side wall? Do you go further in, 5-10 feet or so? You continue forward.
She does.
Okay, you do so. Arthurian, you're behind. Cassandra, you're behind Arthurian. And Althea, are you lingering back still? They're starting to go deeper into the cavern in the south.
If Sheppy steps forward, she'll just remain behind him.
Okay,
But
Sheppy.
if Sheppy stays where he is, then she'll step in front of him.
No, I'm going in.
Okay.
All right.
All right, I'll put you where you would be. There you go. You hear the weeping suddenly, Alessandra. After about 5 feet or so, stepping into this water, it's getting deeper. It's about maybe up and over your knees at this stage. Up ahead in this green glowing chamber to the east, you can see it on the map. A low rocky aisle rises, less than a foot perhaps, above the surrounding water. You see that. Its surface is covered with some fine layer of pale green mushrooms, mold. It glows. As you draw a little bit closer to where you are currently, you can just make out what looks like a lump of cloth and, no, bone. Perhaps a human-like skeleton with rotting clothing and, no, armor. You see armor. Studded leather, perhaps. A weapon lies close by. You could see the hand clutching it. Some type of sword or saber or rapier. All this lies at the center of this mound, this little aisle in front of you. And as you see this, you hear the weeping coming from this mound. What do you do?
She relays all the information that she just got. She relays to Arthurian behind her, while her gaze remains on whatever it is that's on the rock. She doesn't draw back she doesn't cock her flit locks yet, but she has them at the ready, and then she waits for what the rest of the group wants to do.
Seeing the fallen, Arthurian will slowly edge past Alessandra and head into the...
Is that about right?
Yeah, see if he can get closer to the body.
Okay.
Sort of motion for Alessandra to sort of cover them from there.
She'll remain where she is, but then she'll pull her flintlocks up in at the ready.
Okay. As you draw close, suddenly appearing at that mound, Arthurian, you see movement. It looks like movement. Something appears. There you see it. An image of a human. I'm going to show this as it appears to you all.
That be a Tory.
And as you stop in your tracks right at the mouth, the cave mouth to this other room that has this little island on it, and rising above this mound, this body, this skeleton, is this ethereal image of, looks to be human. It just suddenly appears, and it begins to speak almost immediately. Who are you? Oh, you are the heroes. I've seen you before. I wish you no harm. And he seems to weep after saying that.
Who are you, lad? If you mean me no harm, then I won't harm ye. Just want to have a talk with you.
And he hovers there and his hands are outstretched where they were as at his side. Now they are up. And he holds them against his face. And he seems to weep a little bit more. And he looks up at you, Arthurian. And he looks beyond you, catching sight of Cassandra and Sheppy, the little goblin, splashing through the water. I've seen you before. I wish you no harm. I am Otari. This was my fate. This is where I lie. Why have you come all this way?
I've come to put a stop to Belcora.
Belcora.
She just rose and again, lad.
We defeated Belcora. She is no more until now. And he begins to speak of Belcora. And you can see his face, his eyes, Arthurian, begin to look more stern, more serious. And he shakes his head. I ran from her after we defeated. We didn't know what lies below the gauntlight, but I went on without the others. I got lost. I lost my way. Creatures were upon me. They almost slew me, but I ran. I ran from them. Till I found myself here, stricken by some tentacled creature. And as he says this, and you look upon his face, Cassandra, and Arthurian, you notice that his face, it looks patchy, like there's pieces of flesh from his cheek that have rotted off, like he was suffering from some kind of damage upon his body. He goes on, it was here that I succumbed to the disease the creature laid upon me. I stayed as long as I could here in hopes my friends, the Rose Guard, would come. But they did not. Now I have passed on. I am no more. And then there's a pause as he hovers there. Now, as this is happening, Sheppy, you can see this as you can Cassandra. And Althea, you could just make it out. And as you, Alessandra, you see this. How do you react? What do you do?
Sheppy asks about the ribbon that has been giving us hints. Is that you doing that? Otari?
I cannot leave here. I am bound to this spot. But yes, some of my energy was able to go forward and retrace my steps. That's perhaps what you've seen.
How deep did you go in this dungeon? Gauntlight.
As far as I am now, where I lie. As I said, none of us in the Rose Guard knew what lay below the gauntlet itself. And he explains that, and as you would recall, Sheppy, since you're a resident of Otari, you know quite a bit of what had happened in the history 500 years ago when Belcora was confronted by the Rose Guard, heroes of Absalom. This was a time when Otari, the city, the village, the town, whatever you want to call it, didn't exist. The Rose Guard went into the gauntlight and fought and defeated, so they believe, Belcora. And shortly after Otari, the village was created, named after their fallen friend, the rogue of the Rose Guard, Otari, who seemingly stands before you right now, Sheppy. You would know all this. They didn't explore below the gauntlet. But according to this entity, Otari, he did. And he got lost from his friends, was attacked, and stayed here until he basically died.
Sheppy explains how they defeated Volek not too long ago. We destroyed what was left of him. Will this give us any heads up on Belcora's power?
Can't hear
I
you.
think you
Say that again, Jesse. I missed the first part of what you said.
he asks about Volek and how we defeated Volek. And how does this coincide with the power of Belcora?
Volek? You guys defeated Volek.
Yeah. Basically telling him that we beat Volek.
I see.
See how he reacts to it.
He looks down at you, Goblin, as you kind of step forward and make yourself known. I know little of this Volek you speak of. It was Belcora we were after, and Belcora we defeated.
Oh, did you defeat her?
Through might, through magic. She was difficult, but she was slain. You talk much about Belcora. She was defeated. However, I must tell you and warn you, her ghost remains deep below. This very structure, the gauntlight, seems to have some power to increase the manifestation of the spirits of the dead, her victims. She exists below. But be warned, I fear her power is extending beyond the gauntlet itself. Every day that passes, I can sense it. Her energy grows stronger and stronger. She does not seem to be as bound as me. And he looks down at the ground on this little isle.
Arthurian's gonna move up to the ground and sort of gently rest a hand on the remains. Being respectful.
And as you draw close and reach toward the remains, what's nothing more than a skeleton and rotting cloth, you do see some leather armor. You see a hand outstretched that's clutching a rapier, which seems in pristine condition, all things
Is
considered.
there a magic aura coming
You
from
also see
the
a
room?
sack and a pack that seems unbuckled and unopened. Go ahead, Sheppy.
Is there magic coming from this room? I have detect magic. My exploration.
Yes,
Activity.
you sense, and you have sensed since you entered this cavern earlier, the presence of new magic.
Is there any way we can help get you out of here? Lay you to rest?
Yes, yes. You can help defeat Belcora. Her ghost remains. She lies below. Perhaps you know that further to the west, there is a set of broad stairs that lead down deeper below ground from where we are. But it is barred. A barrier lies at its front. Spirits block your way. Now, you would have no trouble remembering that earlier on you encountered this. You've all seen this barrier and set of steps. And you didn't really look close or pay much attention, but you did hear moans. You did see wispy apparitions moving within this blue glowing light that seemed to almost function as a barrier to this set of steps. But again, you never really investigated that. But you do sense that's what he's talking about.
How do we get past the barrier, you say? There is one.
You cannot get past the barrier, but there is one way that I know. For I watched as they built this barrier, this magical wall made up of the defeated enemies of Belcora. And immediately when he says that, you begin to remember that in the hallway leading to this barrier, the walls themselves were filled with these little alcoves containing coffins with grisly remains of defeated foes. Perhaps that's what he is referring to. Belcora's enemies, defeated, and whose spirits now lie as guardians eternal to that set of steps leading to Belcora.
While they're talking to the spirit of whoever it is that's on that rock, Alessandra's gonna have her head on a swivel looking back up the hallway that they just came down, trying to see if she can either hear or see something that might be moving in the distance.
You can make a blind perception check as Alessandra begins to stealthily move through the water and peek back up that corridor that you entered. And as she does this, he further explains, to defeat the barrier that lies there and go deeper and defeat Belcora, you must retrieve icons of the Rose Guard, including myself. For this is what they used to build the barrier Belcora did. You'll need to find these icons. Bring them back here to the wall, the barrier at the steps. If you look north from the steps, you will see a shrine. And he describes a stone, I don't want to say pillar, it's I'm lost for words at the moment.
Like an altar?
Altar, yes. If you bring those icons to the altar and lay them there, and he goes on to explain what he means by these icons. And if you ask, he will reveal Arthurian. I assume you do.
Well, What do they look like?
The details of these icons. From what he understands, and this is something he explains, is something he recently discovered. Is that when the Rose Guard was defeated Belcora and, the deed was done, Otari, they had retired, basically. The town of Otari was created, and they were the local heroes, and that kind of thing. And they eventually passed away, and some of their siblings still are alive there, like Menemes and such. But what they did in Otari to honor the Rose Guard is they took the most important items that those adventurers, the Rose Guard, held dear to them. The most important symbolic items that they held dear that represented who they were as a Rose Guard member. And they imbued them with a little bit of magic, even if magic already existed on it, to prolong it and prevent decay. And they would keep these icons in the town of Otari in remembrance and in honor of them. And this entity before you speaking, you would assume is Otari. He named himself, in fact. It is Otari. He doesn't know what these are because he died. He only knows that from sensing the powers of Belcora building this barrier, that it had something to do with the essence that made up the Rose Guard individuals. This is something she just recently did. Her ghost, as it were. And what he's explaining is to you, if you find these 4 items and bring them down to the altar that lies to the north, opposite the steps and the wall barrier. Lay them on the altar. It should break the barrier. Because those iconic items, they are the essence of the Rose Guard. And that will break the barrier. There were no greater enemies to Bakora than the Rose Guard. He explains there's one for each. He doesn't know what they are, but he knows that the town of Otari did this. And as he mentions this fact, he begins to weep once again, because the name Otari, his friends named the town after him. It just breaks his heart. But in essence, that's what he explains. And that should allow you to get past that barrier, or what he explains as a barrier. You never really investigated it. I don't know why. You're adventurers, come on.
Because we saw stairs going down, we said, nope, we're not going that way.
He didn't even look at it, though. I mean, come on. No one's brave here.
As Althea's heard some of this, she kind of yanks on Sheppy's cloth or his jacket or whatever clothes, whatever he's wearing. She's like, do you think these items are located in the gauntlight? Or do you think they're found in the town? If I had something special, I'd place it right there in the mayor's museum.
Yes, he did have stuff there, didn't he?
Yeah, stuff directly from his descendants, who was in the Rose Guard.
Yeah. Sheppy will tell Otari about the museum and the Rose Guard pieces that are there, and ask him if they would be possibly the keys to getting down there.
When you mention Otari, he just continues to weep. He knows nothing. He knows nothing of Otari itself.
Did he have descendants, like living relatives?
You can make a recall knowledge society. Make that blind. So could you, Jesse.
If not, then I would straight up ask him.
Okay, there is that too.
Yeah.
But just out of your own knowledge, because you both live here in Otari, you know quite a bit. So go ahead and make a recall knowledge to see if there's anything in particular I can reveal.
Would it be society?
Society, yes. You take a pause and you start thinking, Althea. But Sheppy, you know quite a bit, actually, about the goings-on of Otari, upside and downside, and you know a lot about the Gauntlight and its history, actually. And you know that of all the Rose Guard, Otari was the one who very little is known. Nothing else remains of him. But you do remember that he was the thief, the rogue, the sneaky type of the group. You remember tales of Otari and his abilities, and he was kind of like what you'd call a rogue of the group. But nothing was ever retrieved from him as far as items or equipment or descendants. Nobody
He did
comes to
say,
mind.
He did say he has one of the keys.
He said nothing of.
Unlocked.
He said nothing of keys. He said iconic items. To clarify, the iconic items were chosen by the people of Otari that represented the Rose Guard individually.
So they wouldn't have ended up in here then. They were chosen after the fact, right?
After the fact, yes. Many years after they had died, in fact.
So even more likely, it would be found in the museum,
Exactly.
or maybe even the Dawnflower.
Exactly.
Can we have your stuff that you've left behind?
And he looks down at his decayed body. Yes, you take what you need. I have no use for it anymore. I move you up, Arthurian. You're a little bit closer.
I'm wondering if we bury his bones. Maybe it'll lay his spirit to rest.
Alice, go ahead.
No, that's
Alessandra, you don't pick up on anything behind you. You hear nothing except the occasional drip of water.
All right. She is going to. She's going to. Let's see here. She's going to move up about 5 feet. Back up the way they came. Kind of be in the entrance of when they came into the large expanse. But still be able to keep an eye on them. But also have a wider view of what might be coming down that hallway. Right there.
I see. You don't need no torch.
Got dark vision, baby. Let's go.
Meta. All right, so anyway. You've all slowly drawn closer to this conversation, listening in, and you're right in this chamber almost. Only Althea's in the furthest away. You can feel this green glow upon you that seems to be emanating from the island itself, with these mushrooms and moss and fungus that seem to be everywhere, just glowing. But at the center of it all is Otari himself. And Sheppy, were you going up to the body, or Arthurian poking around the body looking for things?
Yeah, we're gonna see what we can take.
All right. As you reach for the bag, and it seems pretty rotted at this point. You notice that the armor seems in very good condition. It looks like studded armor. The cloth itself, the clothing, seems to be well rotted. And the sword, the rapier, looks pretty good too. But just as you go to reach, suddenly there is a horrendous screech from behind you. Alessandra, maybe 10, 20 feet behind you, you hear it. A familiar scream. And there, coming from the wall, you see it, Alessandra. You see the familiar glowing skull that suddenly appears. Althea, you whip about and you see it maybe 30 feet away from you, appearing out of the wall. Everybody, we're going to roll some dice and see how you all react to this. Open up your trackers. Everyone will be using perception. And no bonuses to this, just straight up perception for your initiative. Got that, Cassandra? Arthurian?
Sorry, I had to switch it from stealth. It was defaulting to stealth.
Good catch, good catch. All right.
Now, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
With her already have her weapons up and drawn and seeing this creature come out, would she have an advantage on a possible reactive action?
I think you were really trying hard to do something like that, weren't you? Right?
A little bit.
Okay, so what I'll do, I'm going to allow you to make a ready action.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're basically going to get one action, which is going to be used just like a reaction is in the game. And I know you're a new player, so I'm going to teach you a little bit here. That's what a ready action is. And you can I'm going to assume that you have this ready and good to go.
It's ready and loaded.
Right. You got your flintlocks out and ready to shoot at anything that appears. Now, do you think this would be a situation you would have triggered, or would have triggered you? You tell me.
Seeing the creature come out where it was and her already have her weapons loaded at the ready, she would immediately start firing on it if she could.
All right. So that creature appears right in front of you. Can you? I think you can see it on the map, correct?
I can.
All right. If you want to, that's a trigger. If you want to take your reaction right now and get off one shot, you can do that. I'll let you do that. And that
She'll
will
do
be your
that.
reaction. Okay. Go ahead and make a attack with your flintlock.
Alright. First pistol firing.
So, in the future, now that you know how it works, you can explicitly say, I'd like to be prepared with a trigger. You know, so you can call that out. It's a good move. Okay. And just as this scream pierces the air of this damp, heavy room, Alessandra splashes through the water and you all turn about. Althea, you see this, and she whips about as well, and she levels her flintlock in reaction to the appearance of, once again, this strange orange glowing skull. A shot rings out and echoes across the walls, almost deafening you. And it misses.
Damn it.
All right, so make a note. You have to do a reload action for that.
And they would, the whole group would hear her say "damn it" as she misses the shot and gets ready to reload.
And as you do that, or begin to do that, it moves towards you, Alessandra. And suddenly, arcs of electricity begin to explode from the skull. Before you can react, you feel that your body begins to shake. You take 10 points of electricity damage. And suddenly, the creature makes an abrupt move, and it's flying through the air. It's level with you at this point, Althea. And it stops as it's about to shoot its energy once again in your direction. Arthurian, you hear a fire ring out behind the group. You hear a scream. What do?
You will pause for me. He's going to leap into action. He's going to run over. Get beside Althea. Gonna swing for the fences. You see this dwarf come splashing around beside you, swinging this battle axe out the 24 Fritz.
Arthurian comes splashing through the water with his axe raised, and he swings wildly left and right. You can't seem to get an edge on this floating, flying, ethereal creature. Almost ethereal. Aberration. You miss as your blade cuts the air.
We'll try it. Nah.
Sheppy, the dwarf, your good friend, just went charging off, letting out a battle cry, perhaps. You hear him swinging at something behind you. What do as you reach towards this body?
This is the same type of creature that we fought in the round room.
Yes,
Do you recognize that?
it's the same one.
So they were immune to magic. So Sheppy's going to pull out his sling, and he's going to make an attack with his sling.
All right, it's difficult to see, but go ahead. A stone whips through the air. Everybody ducks. You missed.
I'll try one more time.
Hits the opposite wall. You can see it with your dark vision, but yeah, you missed. And it missed. Two little stones lost. All right, Althea. As these stones go zipping over your head, you hear them. And Arthurian appears with his axe swinging left and right in front of you, splashing in the water, no one making any headway against this floating skull, which is looking at you. What do you do?
She currently has her star knife that she's gripping tightly, but mostly out of fear. And very amateurly, she's going to kind of wave it around at the creature, trying to scare it off and hopefully injure it. Very amateurly.
Very amateurly. Nothing. Nothing but air. Nope.
We're not used to this.
Nope. Anything else?
I'm going to tumble through.
Now, okay, if you want to get over there, you could move up through Arthurian's space without doing that and get around. He'd let you through.
Probably.
You could do that.
But that would be extra space. She would tumble through.
All right.
Arthurian's also waving his sword around. She doesn't want to accidentally get caught up in that.
Okay. Okay.
She's still mentally recovering from the previous incident
All right. That's
when he had attacked her.
Not bad.
a public acrobatics roll. Let's see if you can make it.
22. And is trained.
You begin to move left, move right. You try and dip under the water out of sight. None of it is to any avail as this skull seems to appear right in front of your face. You failed.
She's just going to retreat.
Zip. Splashing through the water.
You don't want to stay there?
No, you kind of hear her whimpering back.
Ah.
Nothing I'm doing's working!
Cassandra, as she makes her way through your little spot right here in the position through the entryway, what do you do?
So Cassandra frowns, having hoped to surround the creature. So instead, Cassandra will maneuver through Arthurian and then down to here on that side. And excuse me. We'll launch a flurry of blows.
Okay.
Let's proclaim this.
Miss.
Oh! $26?
With fists and feet flying left and right, you try and catch this very evasive skull in front of you. It's not very effective. You almost make contact, but it manages to avoid your blows. You missed.
Oh my. Okay, for my last action, I will go into a stance.
Let's check that out.
Here we go. So now Cassandra drops, almost looking feral-like, and she holds her hands out, curling her fingers almost as though they are claws. So I'm now in the tiger stance.
Nice.
And a turn.
Nice. I think you can drag that to your token. This where it says stance, tiger stance. From the chat, drag that to your token. See if you can do that. You should be able to. You put it in the chat.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Yep. It did.
Anything?
Anything happen?
Yay!
There, plus stance, tiger stance. Terrific.
Isn't that cool?
It's very cool. Oh, you know what? And now the tiger claw attack shows up
Yeah.
in my strikes. That's so great.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right, and that lasts as long as you stay in it, right?
That's correct.
And you're unarmored.
Also, the tiger stance hides Cassandra's fear that she
Yeah.
is pretty sure she would have hit most opponents with that last shot that she missed.
I hear you. I hear you. Alessandra, a lot has transpired. The creature appeared before you. You took a shot at it. What's going on?
Being as where she's standing currently, she would have her second flintlock at the ready, and would have aimed. However, when she saw Cassandra move into her line of fire, she immediately draws back her flint. Now stuck in a situation that if she draws fire on whatever the creature is, she could potentially hit Cassandra, one of the healers. Not wanting to move forward because that could put her in a bad position, but if she stays back, she'll be still stuck in the same situation. So she's going to hold her action if she is allowed, and still have her flint at the ready to fire if the opportunity arises to shoot.
So, you can ready an action, and that'll cost 2 of your actions. Again, we're speaking meta here. You forfeit 2 of your actions to basically ready some other action, which will be your reaction. Now, you already used your reaction for the turn.
Okay.
But I don't think that applies now. From this point on in your turn, you get your reaction back, so you're good. So all you have to do is forfeit two of your actions for a reaction. You got to tell me what that trigger is and what the action is.
Her reaction, the trigger will be as soon as the creature moves away from the group, like moves past Cassandra, heading back towards the wall. As soon as she sees that creature past Cassandra, she's going to let go of the ready to action and fire.
Okay. So if it comes towards you, right?
Correct.
Or away from Otari, we'll say. All right. And what was your other action? You had 3 actions. You used 2 of them to do that. What was your other action, your third one? Reload or something? What did you do?
Reload.
Okay. Cassandra, as you make your way around this thing and you begin trying to contact it and hit it out of the air, and then you go into your stance, suddenly the skull turns to face you. And these electrical arcs once again explode from this creature, and they seem to focus on you. Your body, you feel it penetrate your flesh and burn you. You begin to shake. You're taking 7 points of electricity damage. Now,
She winces in pain,
all right,
but
hold on.
tries to stay focused.
As it begins to pull away, Arthurian lifts his axe in the air, trying to attempt to knock it out of the air and into the water. He fails as his axe cuts the water. The creature has moved up just behind you at this point. Sheppy, right in front of you, Althea. Now, of course, getting back to Alessandra here, this isn't the trigger. You were very specific. If it moves towards your direction, away from Cassandra, you would let fly.
Correct.
So you still have that reaction,
Okay.
but it's not triggered at this moment. This crackling begins once again, and all around you. You turn around abruptly, Sheppy, only to feel these electrical shocks pierce your body. 24 points of electricity damage rips through your body. Arthurian, you tried to catch it a number of times. You were close. What do you do?
Thurian's gonna run up. Boxing it in.
It is now.
Flat-footed now.
Yes. That is a miss. That is a miss. Your axe is clanking left and right. The tight space that this creature occupies is just not enough room. You can't get enough clearance to hit it properly. Give me a number from 1 to 6. Kyle.
But
You feel as you lift your axe back up out of the water and try and catch your breath. This creature's still in front of you, between you and Sheppy. Suddenly you feel an unreal, unnatural coldness come up behind you and pass through your body. Give me a blind fortitude save.
Oh,
Arthurian. You suddenly feel sick. Overwhelmingly so. You begin to almost fall over into the water, Arthurian. You are sickened. I'll fill you in on that later. Sheppy, what do you do?
Okay. I don't know if this is going to work, but Sheppy drops the sling for a free action. He's going to pull out the lantern from Volek's table. And he's just going to open it, see if it does anything. Aim it at the creature.
That'll be all your actions.
Okay.
All right, let me go into your stuff here. If you could put... Well, I don't think you even know what it is.
No, it just says unusual object. I'm just... Maybe it'll do something. I don't know.
So
Worth it.
it doesn't do anything. You pull out this lantern, you open the hatch and all this stuff, and there's no light in it, but it's, you know... It doesn't seem to do anything in particular. Althea. Make a note that your sling is now floating in the water.
Yeah.
Althea, you hear Sheppy clanking around, rooting around, grabbing something. Oh, it's a lantern. He's pulling a lantern out. What are you doing?
Not messing around, Sheppy. She tries rushing through again. I don't think we're prepared to face anything like this. We weren't then, we aren't now. I don't know where Otari's went, but I was gonna ask him for help. He's gone now, so she's just going to try to run.
He just disappeared from sight.
To try to tumble through.
And again, you cannot get to a position where you can get around or under or even over this creature. He just blocks your movement. You can try again.
She will. She's trying to frantically get out. And she says, I'm going to die here. That's what she says.
Okay, go for it.
And to no avail.
You're worried, Rachel, aren't you? You're trapped in this little room.
Worried and not worried? I don't know. It's interesting. But she will cast shield.
Okay.
Waves her hand. I don't think we're gonna make it, Sheppy. We're cornered.
Cassandra, what do you do? I believe there's some space up there at that opening where you... Let me move you there just for a second in case. I think... Yeah, you'll be able to attack from there.
I can attack from there?
Yeah. You want to move there?
Yes, please.
All right.
And it'll be another flurry of blows, this time with tiger strikes.
Okay, your stance is gone, right?
No, my stance should still be there.
Okay.
Yeah, the stance lasts.
Okay.
Stance lasts until the end of combat or until I choose another stance.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. Second one.
All right. First, you get one success out of that. Nothing critical. So go ahead and roll some damage
All right.
and describe what that looks like.
So the tiger claw stands. She reaches in and swipes down, and one of her curled up fingers actually grabs it through the nostril, spins it around a little bit.
Yeah. All right. You got some damage on there.
Can I get a fortitude save because of stunning fist?
Okay.
AC 20.
Let's see if I could just click on him and click this. Yep, excellent. What is it, DC 20? Okay. right.
I don't know if it was a success or not.
All right.
Oh,
As you
great.
as you hit it, maybe it's the grabbing in the nostrils, whatever it is, you manage to hold it in place. Not as a grab, but as a stun. You've stunned it.
Terrific. I might as well try one last strike since I'm here. Maybe I'll get a lucky roll. Oh, not at all.
Ugh.
Okay.
Ugh. Give yourself a hero point for that. That was good. Alessandra.
Oh, Cassandra looks back to Alessandra and yells, "Don't worry about us. Take it down."
So, Alessandra, if you want to fire, you can do so. The creature will have a little bit of extra cover, and of course that adds to the armor class of the target. A little bit, because it's not a clear shot. But you can do that. Don't be afraid of hitting other people. But it could happen. As we've seen. Unless your attack has a special rule for that. I don't think it does.
No, it doesn't.
It's up to you.
Hearing Cassandra say that to her, Alessandra's gonna grit her teeth and unload her first weapon on the fighting orb.
Okay. Miss.
Reload. Firing second one.
That is a miss.
She's gonna just start muttering under her breath and immediately go down and start reloading her weapons.
You can reload one.
That would have been her. Yeah, that would have been her third one.
Give me a number from 1 to 6, Jesse.
6.
Give me a number from 1 to 6, Althea.
2.
It's got eyes for you, Sheppy. Lightning
I need
once
3.
again
I need
crackles. Lightning again crackles through the air. You take 10 points of electricity damage.
I am down.
And suddenly, it disappears without a trace. You see no evidence of its presence at all. But the energy is in the air. The hairs in the back of your neck stand up as they do on your half-beard, Arthurian. You're up.
Arthurian is going to take a step and try to sling Sheppy up over his shoulder.
Okay.
He's going to look to everybody else. Unless you want to die here, let's get the fuck out of Dodge. Alessandra, get moving. Clear the way. Let's get. So I'm going to be basically slinging Sheppy up over my shoulder and heading for the exit.
All right. I'll give you one action of movement.
Oh, is that at full rate?
That's at full rate.
Come on, Sheppy. You're with me. Yeah, that's gonna be it for me. Trying to get Sheppy out of Dodge.
Suddenly, Althea, you see appearing on the mound Otari. Once again, just suddenly. Be careful, my friends. Be careful. Don't let it strike you. It still is here. I feel it. It is going to torment me more. And he turns away. Althea, what do you do? Your friends are being overwhelmed, it seems.
If we stay here, Otari, it will torment us too. We're going to... I don't think we can survive against this creature. It's proven itself too strong for us. We shall return, though. She's going to rush out. There.
That it?
And I guess I'll recast shield. And then that's it.
Cassandra?
Okay, well, looks like everyone's decided that we're bailing, so I will do that. That's 20 feet. So, out of speed of 35, so I can get up to here with 2 actions.
You can haul.
Yeah.
And Cassandra just books it, splashing through the water. She rushes her way past you, Althea and Cassandra, making her way almost out of sight of the port of the light.
Where are you
Alessandra,
going?
you're up.
As Sandra is seeing Cassandra run, she screams at her to get back because they don't know what could be further up there, and with Cassandra running full sprint, she could walk into a trap and nobody would be able to stop her in time. So, gritting her teeth, Alessandra is going to move. She's going to move 35 feet. And she's going to sacrifice one of her actions or abilities to do something to catch up to Cassandra if it's allowed.
What do you want to do?
She's going to sacrifice one of her actions to catch up to Cassandra with movement. And then her last action is that she would grab a hold of Cassandra and just glare at her and be like, "Do not move forward without the rest of us."
You can barely catch hold of her. You'll make no rolls for that, but you do manage to grab her just as she's running past you. Do you want to try and stop her?
She's going to attempt to stop her.
Okay. That would be a grab.
And that would be
Athletics.
Athletics, okay.
This could be public.
Okay.
The DC is the Fortitude DC of Cassandra. Was that successful, Cassandra?
No, Fortitude DC is 20.
Nope. Cassandra manages to pull free from your grasp. You are done. Sheppy, we're still in encounter, so go ahead and make a recovery roll. Flat D20, you need an 11 or greater. You're dying 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Flat check. See if you recover.
Okay.
Do you have hero points?
I made that private. Hold on. Let me roll it.
It's a good
Properly.
thing. It's a good thing. You rolled a 5. That's a critical failure, I believe.
15.
Or is it? No. 15. At a success. You are no longer dying 1. You're wounded 1, however. And you are unconscious. Okay, so
Don't worry about it. You're still on my shoulders, Sheppy. I got you.
Thanks.
Suddenly it appears right next to you, Arthurian. As you run past, it ignores you. It turns to the west and flies off, or the east rather, not the west. Flies off in the direction of Otari, and suddenly you hear Otari scream as if he's being attacked by this creature. You're up, Arthurian.
Hearing the ring from Arthurian, I will come back for you, lad. Just hold on a little while longer. I'm going to continue to carry Sheppy out.
Alright, go as far as you want.
Use all 3 moves here. I'll be sort of barking at Althea to move away. Still got Sheppy tied on his shoulder.
Okay. Right. You hear some more screams from behind you, Althea. It sounds like Otari. screaming in pain. What do you do?
Well, she originally had the same thoughts as everyone else. She's just slower at moving. So she bolts to catch up with the others.
Okay. Now we'll put
She
a...
doesn't wait to hear. She already told Otari her speech, and she's joined the others.
And we'll pause for a second here, and I'll ask you all, what is your intention? Do you intend to continue this run from whence you came? Or are you going to pause and recoup?
This would be a full-on flee,
Okay.
in Althea's eyes at least.
Arthurian would pause with Sheppy and try to at least tend to his wounds the way he can move at least on his own.
How about you, Cassandra? Since you're kind of pulling away from the rest, what do? You see your friends coming up behind you, some of them kind of slowing down. Alessandra even attempted to grab hold of you. What do you do?
Well, Cassandra just ran because Althea, whom she really respects, said that they were running. And she's just not used to people not being as fast as her. So she just ran the way she figured you were supposed to run.
Do you stop?
She stops and waits for the rest of them.
Okay.
Like even though Alessandra didn't successfully grab her arm, she still felt the attempt, and she turned around as though like, oh, okay, I don't have to keep going.
Okay. And you all reach this little corner where it narrows, Cassandra in the lead, and you suddenly pause. You stop. Arthurian stops. He's got Sheppy on his back, and he kind of pulls him off his shoulder and lays him down, and you've all kind of gathered, catching your breath. You don't see the creature behind you, although you know it's tricky. It is invisible at times. You never know. But you don't hear any more sounds coming from the south. The sounds of screaming have died down and faded away. The full 10 seconds passes. Nothing. Now, at this stage, you've gathered yourselves around this where you are right now. What would you like to do?
Arthurian's gonna look to Cassandra. Lastly, he needs medical help. Bad.
So she nods her head and moves to treat.
Sheppy?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead.
So with Ward Medic, I'm going to also treat myself. So the first one is for Sheppy.
Well, everybody's all huddled up. Alessandra, after having reloaded her weapons, is now just kind of doing a patrol around the group with her guns at the ready.
Okay.
So Sheppy gets 9.
That takes away your wounded condition. Sheppy. You can get rid of that. Your stance is expired, it says.
Yeah.
You can right click that. Get rid of it. Sheppy, are you there? Take away your wounded. And we'll say you're awake at this point. So you've come to, Sheppy, and your friends are all looking down upon you. You've been bandaged. Not sure what happened or where you are. What do you do?
Am I still considered wounded one?
No.
Or is that
your wounded is gone.
Okay.
You received treat wounds. Thanks to Cassandra.
I can treat him again unless we want to get out of here and treat him somewhere else. I think Arthurian said he just wanted to be able to get him on his feet.
He's getting where he's on the march. Alright, we'll reach down and pat Sheppy on the shoulder.
What happened? I was there, then I blacked out.
I carried you out of there, lad.
I'm sick and tired of magic-resistant creatures. It's no fun. We run when we see them again.
Okay, everybody gets a hero point.
Then I'm gonna retch to remove my second condition.
So are we staying in this area, or are we going to move to somewhere else so I can continue to treat Sheppy and Cassandra? No, not Cassandra.
Right.
Alessandra.
Arthurian, your sickened condition does not go away after retching. It remains. Okay?
Alright.
You just feel horrible, almost dizzy, especially after carrying Sheppy all that way. You kind of fall down on your butt there, not feeling too well. Something's up. You remain sickened 1 until I say, "It has been so ordained." I'll let you know. So as the companions have gathered themselves together, not knowing what their next move will be, as they sit along this shore of fungus and mushrooms, all you hear is the dripping sounds of water all around you, and the flowing water to the east. It's leading somewhere, you don't know. But there is silence and darkness all around you. You no longer hear the screams. So what we'll do is we'll take a short break here, 5 minutes or so. And we'll take a little intermission, and you guys can ponder what your next move will be. So folks, we're going to take an intermission, 5 to 10 minutes. We'll be right back. Stay tuned for more goodness.
I will be.
Alright, folks, we're back once again in the gauntlight. Under the gauntlight. We're going to pick up where we left off. Characters had a vicious battle with one of those glowing skulls that seem to appear and disappear, bringing death in the form of electricity wherever it gazed. Party have made good their escape a short distance away. They're now considering looking around after some quick healing, thanks to the healing abilities of the monk amongst them. Someone who seems to be a monk. The way they fight seems to be a monk. And yeah, we're going to pick up at that point. And they have gathered themselves together on the southern shore, right at the mouth of where the water seems to come from and enter this big chamber, forming this little pond, or lake rather. One thing I will need at this stage is your marching order, your proper marching order. Who's in front, so on and so forth. So quickly.
I can be up front.
Okay, Arthurian.
Shippy always does best behind Arthurian.
He does. Who's behind him?
Cassandra.
Cassandra is in the middle. Who's next?
Alessandra would probably be all the way in the front, acting like a scout.
There's no space. You'd have to be behind Cassandra.
Damn. Okay, she probably behind. Well,
Do you want to be in the front? That's up to Arthurian.
she would look to Arthurian and ask him if it'd be alright if he lets her go before him.
That's fine. She can go first.
Okay. And that leaves Althea in the rear once again. Almost left behind. Alright, real quick, let's do our activities. If somebody's doing something in particular, let me know now. Investigation, search, scout.
I'd like to search. Find
Detect
any
magic.
secrets.
Okay.
Alessandra, go ahead.
I'm just defending.
Do you have a shield?
Alessandra,
Do you have a shield, Arthurian? Just
Believe I do. Check here.
otherwise it's pointless. How about you, Cassandra? Anything?
No, nothing in particular.
Okay. Sheppy?
Do
Detect
have a
magic.
shield, so yes, I'll be switching to longsword and shield for this one.
All right. And Alessandra, scout.
scouting.
Okay, so any encounters that happen, everybody gets a +1. Remember that. I always seem to forget. All right. It's very narrow here. And you'll have to proceed one by one if you go any further. And you do so. You immediately see that the ground begins to slope upwards the more you look down this corridor. It's very tight. The water is here. It's flowing down slowly. But there is room to continue moving along this western bank of this little river, little stream, rather. It's very narrow. Do you wish to continue following it?
Yep.
All right. And you do so, and it kind of has an S shape to it. You get all the way down to the furthest portion, and here is where it really gets pretty steep right here. You got to kind of really lean into it to get up there, but you do see up ahead what looks like some type of opening in the wall where it seems to be coming through.
I wonder if this is going to where we fought that blob creature.
Yes. Do you continue moving up there?
Yep.
Yep, we'll soon find out.
Uh-oh. Let's see where it goes. Where does this strange place go? Can everybody see the map?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. You continue to follow it up and up and up. The water's a little louder here.
Yes, this is the scene of the very close battle where Althea saved the day.
And
Tell me how.
right about here, you see a rotting corpse of some kind of fleshy mound. It doesn't seem to be moving, but it definitely smells of decay. Right here where I hit the button.
At this point, we know where we are. Do we want to go back to Atari now? Or do we want to turn around and go back?
Well, we have to find those items anyways.
So are we in agreement? We go back real quick, get that stuff, heal up, and then come back?
That works for me.
Works
Same.
for me.
Yep.
Alright, so I guess we're going back.
You were in a chamber, if you recall, where there was a vicious battle. You're actually higher up and closer to your destination than where you were. Do you want to head back down the stream, go the long way, or do you want to cut through this area? Because you're actually on that area that contained the library, if you recall.
Yeah, that would be the quicker way.
Up those steps, and Dane was felled in this area, in fact. You recall. You could make your way back up those steps, just up ahead. Or you can go back to whence you came, which is lower.
Let's take the steps.
Yeah,
Steps.
we're going up.
All right. Let me just drag you through this little area here. You recognize this. There was a vicious fight here on the steps. You remember this little alcove, I'm sure.
Summoning circles.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to drag you through here a little bit as a reminder. Here was the chamber, you recall, where Dane's body had lied, where you found him. Dane died in this chamber. And as you move past the blood stains and the decaying corpses of some type of creature, ghouls, if you recall, you remember that just up ahead was a much larger library room, where at this very door you see a wilted flower that someone had placed. It is now wilted beyond recognition. You might not even notice it. But Althea does. And once again, you enter a very familiar chamber. This is where there was another library, books stacked, and you see some of them. You see on the far wall, you see some of the bookshelves have fallen and collapsed. You also see the great stone double doors directly ahead in the north wall, partially open, where you had fought and defeated a ghoul queen. Going to the east through another passageway. This is the long library. I think you all have your bearings at this point. If you would like to do anything more on this level, if not, we'll take you right back to Otari. I'm giving you the opportunity if there's anything.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. We're going back.
Okay.
Yeah, it's time to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Let me roll a die. See if you survive the trip. Takes about another hour to fully make it out of those upper levels. You make it pretty quick, actually. And make your way back to Otari. There's still daylight out. Let me forward the time another hour. I will say one thing. Once you vacated the library level, where all the books were and so on and so forth, and you started to get to those upper levels where you remember the gremlins, King Scrong ruled supreme. You did not see gremlins or moving shadows of those little gremlin creatures. You didn't see them watching from a distance, as often you do when you pass through. What you did see, however, was rotting, decayed carcasses, many of which were in fact gremlins. Sheppy, you've noticed this before. Their bodies look ravaged from battle. Broken weapons surround them. You see cuts across their face, Arthurian. You recognize that as a bladed weapon. They were attacked, surely. Assuming you push on, you make a mental note of these things.
Can I make a recall knowledge to see if it was ghoul attacks or if it was weapon attacks?
I think
that
Arthurian
killed them?
could clarify that for you without a roll.
Weapons did this. Well, no ghoul blades done this one. This was steel and magic.
Interesting.
So assuming you push on beyond that and make your way, as intended, back to Otari, you do so, which takes another 20, 30 minutes. And I imagine you gather yourselves once again at the Rowdy Rockfish to catch your breath and plan your next move. What would you like to do? You've made it safe and sound on this slightly raining day, this afternoon in Otari. Eyes are upon you. It's the companions. They've returned. They'll save Otari one day, I'm sure. What do you do?
What's the barkeep's name? The Rowdy Rockfish.
Relda?
We asked Berelda.
Brelda's
if her-
nowhere to be found.
Maybe we should go and find was it Lofter?
Well, you guys remember everybody, don't you? Good friend Lofter. Who was that guy? I don't know.
Yeah, Lofter and Akara, because they carried Lazda back.
Mhm.
So, if you were, I think we should check the Rowdy Rockfish to see if they're there, or go to the Dawnflower if he's there getting healing.
So I guess Sheppy and Althea will go check on that.
Okay. What's everybody else doing? Cassandra, how about you? Or are you all sticking together as a group, just going to do this together? What do you want to do? Give me an idea.
Cassandra would probably have accompanied Althea.
Okay.
She's not very used to dealing with how people work. She notices that Althea is good at it, so she wants to try and, study her mannerisms and study how to talk to people. So she'll be accompanying Althea.
Okay. But you, Arthurian?
I'll have them accompany Althea and Sheppy, and I'm actually gonna bow out for the night, guys.
All right, Kyle. Thanks, man.
Take it easy,
Thanks,
Kyle.
Get better
Yeah.
soon.
Feel better, man.
Well, I'm gonna try, guys. I'm gonna try. Y'all be safe. Y'all be safe. Have fun. Stay dirty. And I love yous. We'll see y'all on the next one.
You take care, my friend.
See you on
Take
the
care.
flip.
All right, we'll have Arthurian go into shadow mode. He's following behind with you guys. So, one last question. That's Alessandra. Is there anything you'd want to do separate from the others, or do you just want to follow along?
We'll follow along just for eyes in the sky.
All right, you're gonna go look up Lofter. Is that was the plan, Sheppy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to check on the whereabouts of the prisoner that we freed
All right, you can make
for
your
all this relative.
okay. You can make your way to where Lofter would be hanging out. The Atari guard, just located right here on the map. I don't have your tokens out. You guys can see the map, right?
Yeah.
All right, so you're up there at the Atari guard. You cross the big gates, and a couple guards standing outside. They welcome you in. Lofter's nowhere to be found, but asking around, you do find out that Akara and Lofter brought in Lazda, who was half dead, and he received some healing, and he's much better now, recuperating at the Dawn Flower, actually. But yeah, he was missing for some time, and Brilda has been distraught, but she's quite overjoyed at the moment, probably in her home or caring for her son at the Dawn Flower Library. So you found that out. Okay.
Where was the museum that had the weapon pieces?
The mayor's house. That was like up here, right?
Mm-hmm. And you know this. You would know. where
Definitely
this
going to
is.
have to stop there too.
You would know, and you've actually visited the museum in the past. The museum is it's the east wing of the mansion, in fact. And
Probably have to fill the mayor in on what's going on.
Yeah, give him an update.
if he's in and available, yeah. Do you want to head to the manor?
Yeah, on our way
Sounds good to
back
me.
to the down floor, I guess we'll stop there too.
Which first? I got to know which place first.
Museum's closer.
Museum. Okay.
Yeah, technically that would be closer.
All right. You cross the big gates in the front. No guards, but there is groundskeepers and such, and they all recognize you, Althea, Sheppy, Arthurian. And they welcome you in. Are you here to see the mayor? Says one of the servants at the main door as they greet you, speaking to Althea. You're in the lead this time, Althea. Come right in. I don't think he's in at the moment. However, there's other services for you. We can help. What would you like? Perhaps you would like a meal. You look quite hungry and pretty bad shape, actually. Are you all right?
I won't turn down a meal. Yeah.
Well, then
if
come
you
in.
have
Come
anything.
in. And he invites you into the foyer and off to the center, where the center door in the There's 3 doorways, one left, right, and one in the center. And you enter that center one, he leads you in, and there's a big hall in there with steps going to the left and to the right. You would assume that would be the chambers and upper workings of the mayor and his family, who also dwell here, of course.
Sheppy says to the servant,
Yes.
When is the mayor coming back? Because we have urgent news and we need to talk to him right away.
Perhaps later this evening, Sheppy. Maybe you would like to come back, or you can stay here. Like I said, we can offer you a meal as well, while your friends wait. And
Sheppy never turned down meal.
of course not.
That soup.
Well, come, all of you. Your friends. You can come in, and we will get you all set up. He claps his hands together, and they lead you into another chamber off to the left. And in there, it's a very familiar location. You felt like you've been here before. And Sheppy, you have been here before. You all have before. You remember that this one chamber with a long table and great windows on the opposite wall and a great hearth to the left. This is where the meeting was. This is where Rin Savixi, Lofter, and all the companions, the mayor, all gathered to talk about what are we to do about this gauntlight. It is dangerous after all, waking the undead. Waking the dead from their graves. This was the meeting hall. And they invite you in. Some hands are clapped once again, and in walks a few more servants shortly thereafter, bringing plates of food, fresh bread, cooked meats, bacon. It smells good. Buttered biscuits, ale perhaps, if that's your preference. Wine, young Althea, whatever you choose is brought to you.
I shouldn't drink on an empty stomach.
Oh, don't mind that. You eat much. You look worn out and starving. Terrible.
Thank you so much. You're such a gracious host.
You are welcome, young Althea.
Sheppy just digs in like an animal.
Yes, and starts chewing
Thumbs
on
are
bones
flying.
under the table. You spent half of the meeting. I don't think you were there, Jesse, but you spent half the meeting under the table eating all the bones and scraps that fell. It was a great time.
Now, is Cassandra with us?
Yes.
You said that she was following
she's
behind.
Yeah, she's there.
So as they've stepped inside, Althea's like, "Oh yeah," whispering, trying not to talk over the. Would he be considered a butler? Oh, I can't hear you.
Yeah, you're muted.
I just see you talk a lot and then you clap your hands.
You're welcome. Yeah, he'd be the head, kind of like a head servant. He does all the clapping of hands.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. So she doesn't want to talk over him as he's being very nice. But she'll tell Cassandra, "Oh, this is the mayor's house. Don't let us forget when we actually get to speak with him. We need to, if you really are interested in being involved in protecting Otari, joining us for the long haul, the mayor's actually willing to give gold reward to those who aid in this effort."
So her eyes grow wide, and like it never occurred to her that this is something she might get paid for. And so she says, "So, do I still work at the fishery?"
I don't see why not.
Yeah, this is a reward for solving the problem of the gauntlet.
Yes, this
By the mayor.
has been affecting the entire town. So they want it dealt with as soon as possible.
So she nods her head and she says, "Okay, I would like to still join you. So that means I will take the gold."
excellent. I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that someone new has joined, seeing as we've been short a few people in the past. And once again, she kind of goes quiet because she's remembering Dane and Marshall. And the list is growing, actually, because it's not just those two.
Don't forget the barbarian.
Yeah. Or,
You guys had a barbarian?
yeah.
Yeah.
She was great. Maggie? She was great.
Maggie.
I'm sad that she didn't last as long as she did, but it's circumstances. It was bad.
Died in her first adventure.
Oh no.
Yeah. We also had an alchemist.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, also
Nice.
died.
Also died.
Very fast. And
Interesting character.
Alison, Dizzy's first character too. I don't think she lasted. That was also sad. But anyways, as these names are just kind of going through Althea's head, she's just spacing off now, like, oh no, we really need to solve this. We can't lose more people. And then she's kind of regretting her decision, like, of sharing this information to Cassandra, because she's like, oh no, if she gets involved, she's gonna die too. We're all going to die. She's just, Althea's got a lot of problems.
Yeah.
She's scared of losing everybody.
Sheppy and Althea are the only surviving original members.
Well, we've got Farley, but he is mysterious.
Very.
Comes and goes with the direction of the wind, like Mary Poppins.
Well,
We just need to get him a bag of holding.
Cassandra can run faster than either of you, so don't worry about me being the one to die.
So you say.
But as you can see, the mayor's place is fancy. I'd love to live in a house like this one day, but I've never been into politics, and it seems like those are the only guys that kind of make any difference around here and get paid.
Sheppy says, too clean here. Too clean.
Althea's like, that's the best part, Sheppy!
No, it's not. Too clean. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna get sick. But I love this food.
Not everybody likes to have a thick layer of dirt on them at all times. You can continue to live underneath the fishery, but I would like to live somewhere nice.
You and your
So
clean sheep.
So meanwhile, Cassandra's just staring, and she has no idea of social cues. She's just staring, a little bit open-mouthed at some of the displays of wealth. And sometimes she goes to touch something, a portrait, a piece of art, but then she draws her hand back after she looks at the bloodstains on her hand, having beaten some of these things to death. And she embarrassingly puts her hands in the thick of her sleeves and just looks with her eyes.
And you are surrounded by a lot of art, books on the walls, vases. There is a lot in here. And there's a lot more. As you relax after about an hour of eating, or thereabouts, if you want to cut that shorter you can, but I'll say about an hour, someone else enters the chamber while you're in discussion. And in through the door that you came in walks this young lady, red flowing hair, a beautiful grayish with white highlights and blue fringe dress, puffy shoulders. Well, hello. Would you be the companions? She
Why,
looks.
yes, we are.
What they call us.
Oh, and she holds her hand to her mouth and kind of looks away briefly and back at you. My father has said much about you. You are the companions who are here to save Otari. Well,
Yes.
it's a pleasure to meet you. I am Doriana, the eldest daughter of Osef, the mayor. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I'm glad I have this opportunity. Would you like more to eat, more to drink, perhaps? And you can tell she
We're
looks
satisfied.
very happy and excited to see you. And she asks, "What would you be here for? Are you here to see my father, perhaps?"
Cassandra just looks at Althea.
She looks back at Cassandra and nods her head. Yes, we're here. Like, kind of guiding her. When somebody asks you a question, you answer and nod. Yes, we've returned and we're looking for your father. We have important news from the gauntlight. Things have progressed well, and we might need to ask a favor of him. You see, we're actually looking for specific items that might have belonged to the Rose Guard.
Oh, I see. Well, maybe you could come to the museum and look. We have some
Because we
things
spoke
in
to
there.
the ghost of Otari.
The ghost of
Yeah,
Otari.
yeah, I know. Like, that's great. Yeah, tell her that too.
Oh, Sheppy, I know who you are. I've seen you many times running around the market square. Everybody knows Sheppy.
It's true. Sheppy is quite popular.
Give me a second here. But she invites you, if you want, you can look into the museum, which is still open. You can go in there every once in a while. People go in. It's a public location. And everything about the history of Otari and a lot of stuff from the Rose Guard is actually, stored in there, memorabilia and that kind of thing. Maybe you can find something. Maybe I know something of some of these things. You've been in there before.
We need key important items to the Rose Guard. Possibly weapons or armor. Things that would have been close to the Rose Guard. Or they are the keys, possibly, to getting to the next level to defeat or find out what is going on in the gauntlight. It would be very important to us.
I see. Well, come. I can show you some things. And do you follow? I assume you do.
Yeah.
Again, this is in the east wing of the house. It's not far from where you are. Short little jaunt through a couple doors, and boom, there you enter. And another servant has joined you at this point alongside Doriana. And this is a very open, large chamber. It looks almost like a library. But instead of books, you see glass fronts to these cabinets. And behind these cabinets, you see all kinds of things. People who have visited, well-to-dos who have come by and left memorabilia behind for the Otari. Otari is not necessarily unheard of in the lands of the Starstone Isle. Small it may be, but not far from Absalom. A couple days at most journey to the west, or to the east rather, you can find Absalom, the city at the center of the world. So there's a lot of things. She points out a couple little things that are said to belong to some of the Rose Guard. there was a piece of armor, a shoulder plate, something Arthurian would recognize, being a warrior and soldier himself, that was worn by Val Rajani, the warrior of the group, the fighter of the Rose Guard, who's said to have dealt the final blow to Belcora. Nothing really special about it. Looks a little bit rusted and tarnished. Nothing special at all. You also see some utensils, and you see an old backpack that belonged to one of the Rose Guard. And Althea and Sheppy, you would know this, that the Rose Guard was made up of 4 individuals, heroes from Absalom, that traveled all the way from Absalom to hunt down Belcora and defeat her, which they did. And the town was founded, being named after one of the members, the rogue, Otari, in honor of him. He was never found. His body was never found. Nothing was retrieved of his. He's pretty much an unknown, except that he was one of the heroes that defeated Belcora. But after about 30 minutes of wandering around, and she goes on and on, pointing out all these interesting little tidbits and histories of the Rose Guard, what there is, nothing seems to stand out to you. Do you ask her anything specific or about what you're really looking for? Because so far everything is kind of mundane items.
The ghost of Otari did say
Oh,
we need pieces from the heroes of the Rose Guard that defeated Belcora. The heroes.
Would you happen to have any family heirlooms that date
I
back?
I think I know what you might be looking to see. Let me think. They're scattered around town. They are the important symbols of the Rose Guard, or at least 3 of them, the ones that survived and went on.
That sounds like what we're looking for.
There was a sword. I think it was called Zin something was the name of the sword, but it was, a bright, shiny silver sword, and it was said to be used by Val, the fighter of the group. It was his sword. Some say it's magical. I believe that was kept at the Dawnflower Library, stored away. I don't think they have it on display anymore.
Would I know about this sword?
For you, I would say go ahead and make a recall knowledge. It's not an obvious thing, so you're going to have to really think about this. Recall knowledge.
Which one?
Society. Unless you have lore or anything like that might apply something specific.
Just the lore of studying.
Studying? That's not a lore.
Academia.
That's pretty broad.
Yes, very broad.
Lore skills, and I'm talking about lore skills, are very precise and specific topics.
No, that is my lore skill.
All right, let's see what you got. Okay. So, nothing of a kind has ever crossed your path, Althea. You know that they do store various scrolls and weapons of particular gods' favored weapons, like the star knife, for instance, and that sort of thing. But you don't know anything belonging to the Rose Guard there. But she assures you that, the Dawnflower Library would be the place to go to about that. I believe they are the caretakers of that sword. It used to be on display, but not for some time. And she also mentions a book whose title she does not remember, but there was also a book that belonged to the wizard of the group. And that was another item that was special. And all these items were imbued with a little light magic to preserve them, as is done typically. And that was one of the items. She's not sure who would have that. But she does recommend, you know who might know? Maybe you know her. In fact, I know you know her, Sheppy. Rinsifixie. She loves all those sorts of things and that type of information. She might know more than I do, but that would be a place to look. But
We'll definitely check that out.
there is one more item. And I probably shouldn't tell you about this one because my father is kind of keeps it away from others. But since you're looking, there is the brooch. And she pauses.
Cassandra just looks expectantly.
And the brooch, it's known as the Hunter's Brooch. And it actually belongs to our family. Sefna Menemes. And Althea, that name rings a bell for you. You've heard that before. Sefna Menemes was one of the Rose Guard, and one of the reasons Otari exists today is because of her. She was the chief one to actually build Otari. And of course, she's a great of Osef, the mayor. She's a Menemes. But her brooch, known as the Hunter's Brooch, has been kept well hidden in the basements below the manor house. And Doriana is willing to take you to show it off to you. And if you follow her into the basement, she leads you down these long set of steps into this natural stone room that is the basement, or part of the basement. And she walks over to a little cabinet that has black glass in front of it, and she unhooks it. You must not tell anybody I'm showing you this. And she opens it up, and she pulls out this little box with a latch on the front. And as you all peer, it just fits right in her hand. She lifts it up, and there you see this very beautiful silver brooch with an image of a deer with antlers upon it and a bow over top of it. This was known as the Hunter's Brooch. It belonged to my great-great-great-grandmother. And she, of course, was a devout follower. She was a holy woman. She was a cleric. I'm sure my father wouldn't mind me showing this. We don't really show it off anymore. It used to be in the museum and on display, but for fear of it being stolen, you would understand. We keep it under wraps now.
We have to ask you a big favor. Would it be possible if we could just borrow this? We would return it. We're not here to steal it.
Oh, I don't
We
know.
have reason to believe.
I don't know
This
if
may
I
help
should.
us.
I don't know.
We may not be able to continue without it.
I can't do that. I could never do that. And she immediately pulls it away and closes the hatch and goes to put it back in the cabinet and shuts the doors.
Can
I could never
request?
reveal this. All of a sudden behind you, you hear feet coming down the steps. A couple pairs of feet. And there, standing before you, is Osef, the mayor. Oh, what is going on? What are you all doing in the basement? Daughter, get up those steps. I'm sorry, father. And she quickly dashes off And you all recognize Osef, the mayor of Otari.
Osef, we've come to learn that in Otari there may be items that will help us. This hunter's brooch that is part of your family's heritage.
Hunter's bro. Who showed you this? Was my daughter.
Do not be mad at your daughter. It is us that have asked for it. We need it.
Why would you be interested in this artifact? It's a part of my family's heritage and history. Why would you be interested in such a thing?
You would not believe it, but we met the ghost of Atari.
Ghost.
And he gave us. He told us that there's 3 things in Otari that will help us get to the lower levels of the gauntlight, and without them, we cannot go any further.
All right, make a diplomacy check. Blind.
And as Sheppy is talking, I'd like to back him up in any way possible.
Are you chiming in? You assisting?
With a well-timed yeah and a head nod.
All right, you go ahead and make a diplomacy check too. If you're successful, determine if he gets a bonus on the check. So go ahead and do that. Make your rolls.
Yep,
Sheppy.
I just had to find it.
You great speaker,
comes.
you. Yes, diplomacy, since you're not deceiving. And as you explain this situation and speak about this ghost of Otari, which he recognizes the name, the town's named after him, he pauses. You are the companions. You know I am obliged to help you in every effort you have against whatever forces lie in the gauntlight. But I understand. And he goes towards the cabinet, opens them up, and he takes out this little box. There is no need to borrow it or return it. Use it as you see fit. I trust you, companions. And he goes to...
Thank you, man.
Yes, he goes to give it to you, hesitatingly, Sheppy, and looks over to you, Althea, and perhaps you should take this. And he plops it in your hands, Althea, this little box. No offense, Sheppy, but you do have a certain reputation around here. But yes, you take it and do it as you wish. If it helps Otari and defeat whatever is in that gauntlight.
Can I ask you one more thing?
Yes, what is it, Sheppy?
We also are looking for a book that Rin Savixi has, and a sword at the Dawnflower. Could you send word to them that we need them, so we don't have to convince them to give it to us?
I cannot speak of the other items that were part of the Rose Guard, but I do remember many, many years ago these items were imbued with magic and held in high regard. At a short time they were all on display here in the museum, but I think the Dawnflower was responsible for the blade, whatever it was called. I don't recall. Perhaps you should speak to others in town that might know the whereabouts of the book, or whatever else might be available, but this is all I know of. My great-great-great-great-great-grandmother would be thankful that it is in hands of the companions, and once again fighting against Belcora. I recommend perhaps you see Rin Savixi. She knows much of these things.
Yes, it's time to go see Rin.
Yeah, I've said it twice already. Come on. Sorry, immersion break. Sorry. And of course, Cassandra, all these names and stories coming at your ears, they're all new to you.
Yeah.
Probably fascinates you, pulls you in. The companions and the rose guard, icons, and all these images filling your mind. What are you feeling right now?
Almost like this is much bigger than she thought. She originally went out hoping to find some. I think it was a huntsman who got lost, and it's turned into this whole big thing. She's met really interesting people with interesting abilities. She met a ghost.
Yeah.
She feels bad that they left the ghost to be tortured by that other skull. But she realizes that she's never done any of this adventuring before, so she's following the lead of everybody else. But now she's seeing that it's even more complicated because what they're doing now seems to have in some way been started decades and decades and decades earlier. And so it's a little bit overwhelming.
The tale is being woven.
Okay. So, you've been granted this by the mayor. The mayor notices your thinking, your quietness, actually, Cassandra. I don't think I've met you before. Are you part of the companions?
So she steps forward and she tries to bow, maybe starts to go on one knee, shakes her head, and then just looks up and says, "Yes,
I see.
I," and she points at her chest, "am Cassandra."
I see.
Sheppy just goes, awkward.
Womp, 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 womp. Well, I see. Well, welcome. And he reaches his hand out to shake yours and put his other arm on your shoulder. You are welcome. The companions are always in need of brave warriors, which I think you are, judging from your wounds on your hands. But again,
And
go ahead.
she looks a bit ashamed. And she covers up the hand and she just says, "Sorry. Should have cleaned before coming in."
That's perfectly fine. That is perfectly okay. Now, in the meantime, and he looks over and he sees another new face, Alessandra. And I see you have even more new companions speaking to you, Althea and Sheppy. Well, whatever that is, you're all welcome here. And be sure to leave your names so that we can add you to the roster. There is a reward, in fact. I believe it was 50 gold pieces each to all those that survive and solve this problem we have with this gauntlight. We're grateful for it, and you have our support. But in the meantime, let us return back to the main room, and I shall see you off if you intend to go see Rin, which I recommend you do. She might be of much more aid. She knows these things, of course.
Off the rinse, I guess.
Yes. And after saying your adieus, you can make your way across town. And I have a token on the map now, the little torch. If you'll click on that, you'll be able to follow along where I take you to Rin Savixes, my favorite character. And of course, you have no clue about this Rin Savixi, Cassandra. You make your way across town. You have to go a long way up the road and down, because Altaria itself is within this cavernous area. That's
On the way there, Sheppy says, "Just drink your tea. Don't worry."
Just drink your tea. Drink your tea. Yeah. And Meneme's Manor is actually, it sits atop the town of Altaria. It overlooks it. If you look at the map, you'll see what I mean. There's cliff edges where the town actually sits. And Rin Savixi's, of course, is that little green sign up here, the north end of town. You can see it. And you can click that and open it up and all that other good stuff. But as you approach, and evening is starting to approach soon, a couple more hours, perhaps it will be sunset. Still light out. There are people still on the streets, people coming in from a hard day of work, working the forests. It's a lumber town, of course. The streets are filling up gradually. You make your way through these streets in the north end of town, and you come to this single-story home. You see windows at its front that they're covered. You can't see inside. It looks like there's drapes and shutters. There's a porch on the front. This great door with banded, wooded bands on it. It's a wood door with blue banded wood. Painted blue, I'm trying to say. Approaching from this side, you don't get to see behind the house. I usually describe that to the players, but not in this case. Coming from a different avenue. And you step up on the porch. Sheppy, Althea, Arthurian. Followed by Cassandra. And Sheppy, as you reach towards the door to kind of knock on it, suddenly it begins to open before your hand even touches it. You hear a roar. It just slightly opens. And you see the blackness that lies beyond. But more than that, you smell that familiar scent of burning incense and herbs. It's very inviting. You go to push the door open, and it does so. It opens wide, and a familiar sight appears to you. This small, about 20-foot interior room, Cassandra. All along the walls are filled with all kinds of trinkets. Books, scrolls are on some of these small little shelves built into the wall. Vases decorate the corners. You see a small table ahead of you. A small table. And there's a couple chairs at it. There's no one present, however. Candles are all lit all along the walls. Like every 3 or 4 feet, there's a candle. And it is the only light. The windows are covered over, but it's pleasing. The smell of the room is very inviting and comforting. And as you all walk inside to this chamber, the door quietly shuts. No squeak. A latch goes. And you're all filled with this flickering, glowing orange light in this chamber. No one is present. Suddenly, there is a ding. You hear a little bell off to the left of you along one of the walls. You all turn to look in that direction, and you see this little bell that's moving in the shadows of the candles, and it comes to a stop. Welcome, my friends. You have returned, I see. And your attention is immediately drawn to back towards the table. And there, seated at the table, you see this beautiful, tall, elven tiefling. The horns adorned, long white hair, eyes milky. She's seated at the table in her usual spot, Sheppy. You've seen her before many times. And there she sits, and on the table, in fact, is a small tea container with several cups, just enough for each of you. She just suddenly appears. What do you do?
Sheppy fills her in on the situation with the ghost and a possible book that she may have in regards to the Rose Guard. And how the mayor has given us the hunter's brooch, and how the book that she has may help us as well.
So you have found things. You speak of a ghost of Otari. What tidings is this? Is it either good or it is bad? What else did you learn from this Otari, you say?
Said that he defeated Belcora, but got lost in
Yes,
the gauntlight.
they all defeated Belcora. She is long dead. We would hope.
The items of the heroes that are in Otari are the key to getting to Belcora's lower levels. We need these items.
And in this conversation, she invites you to sit at the table, Cassandra, and the others. Some of you will have to stand. I think Arthurian would say, I'll stand in the corner, lassie. But you're all invited to sit down, and she pours tea for all of you, Cassandra. It's very inviting. She's very friendly. Although odd. Not sure you've seen tieflings before, but she is definitely odd for a tiefling. And Sheppy, you begin to reveal this information to her about this barrier of ghostly shapes that blocks your way, and that Otari told you need to go deeper. Belcora's ghost lives. But to get to her, you have to break this barrier. So he says. You've never actually investigated it. And then you explain about how he said, these icons they must be available. He knows they were because it was part of the creation of this barrier. It was mentioned in the process of creating it. So he knows about it. Otari. And Rin knows about such things as well. And she reveals to you that she knows you have the brooch. Unless you keep that secret.
No, I'll let her know.
There is a book. Oh, let me grab my notes. There is a book. The Wizard of the Rose Card. It is called The Threshold of Truth, I believe. Very complex tome beyond me. Or any wizard. Not that I am a wizard, of course. But it belonged to the Wizard of the Rose Guard. Surely Mordeblint and Farleytell would know of its whereabouts. In fact, Mordeblint might actually have the book. The sword was caretook by the Dawnflower Library. Perhaps you can speak to Vandy about that. Again, I don't think such things are on display as they used to be. But you can look and ask them. And of course, you have the brooch, which is a wonderful gift indeed from the mayor.
Who has the book? Possibly? Farleytell?
Or Mordeblin.
Who's Mordeblin?
You would know Mordeblint. He's actually not far from where you are right now. Farleytell used to work for Mordeblint. Mordeblint collects and sells all manner of odd books. Mordeblint.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Farleytell would know all about him.
Yep. Carrying all those books out of the gauntlight.
Mm-hmm. So, the locations where Rin thinks they are, I hope you take notes on that. And the sword, Zin Faran, is the sword called, I believe. It was wielded by the warrior, Val Rajani. Some say it has magical powers of its own. If you are looking for them, what is your intention for their use? She knows you need them for this barrier thing, but she's asking
Yeah,
you
the-
what would their use be?
We need to take them to an altar to open a gate that bars our entry to the lower levels.
I see. Well, that is very important indeed. Tell me, and she looks towards you, Althea, what else has happened to you? You look terrified, young Althea. What else has happened in the gauntlight? Are you well? Are you okay?
I'm not doing too well. Every corner we turn to, we are faced with horrifying creatures. There's this wispy skull that's just haunting us. Seems to be mostly known it must be like a guard of some sort, because the times we've encountered it, it was around those imprisoned, such as Lazda, who's now returned, and
Oh,
when we
good.
originally found Otari,
Poor
there's this
Lasta.
creature.
That is good news indeed.
Yes.
And as you sit and drink your tea, Arthurian being kind of sleepy, he doesn't look too well, actually. Sitting by himself, wanting to be alone.
Is Arthurian still sick?
Yes.
I would bring that up too. That when we first met, during that fight, something was off, and then I'd let Arthurian explain it.
Yeah, and he does so. And Rin reaches out to Arthurian and lays a hand upon him. He feels the warmth and all that. And she recommends you go to the Dawnflower and be looked at. Something is not right about you, Arthurian. I fear for your health. A hearty dwarf as yourself, afflicted this way, is not normal. Yes, go to the Dawnflower. Look for the sword, but also look to yourself. Perhaps they can help you. And Arthurian pulls himself back and holds himself up. Lassie, I'll be fine. And he kind of staggers a little bit back. You will see to him, Althea. He does not look well. And as you get this information, Cassandra, you're seated at this table as well.
Drinking my tea.
You're sipping the tea.
Yeah.
And as you're listening, you can't help but be pulled in. You're fascinated at her eyes. She's speaking, but yet she has no pupils. It's just an odd feeling. And suddenly, her gaze turns upon you. Do you enjoy the tea? It is the finest herbs. She looks to you, Cassandra.
And Cassandra nods her head and says, "It reminds me of grandfather's tea."
Grandfather? Who would your grandfather be, might I ask?
He's grandfather. She seems confused that grandfather is the only name she's ever known him by.
Yes. And he was important to you.
Yes. Took me in after village destroyed.
Yes.
Taught me how to do this, and she does a simple kata.
Okay. I see. Well, you are a valuable asset to the companions. You have joined the companions, yes?
Yes. Want to help.
Good, good.
Want to set ghost to rest. Shouldn't have to be like that.
And then she pauses and she looks deep into your eyes and she invites you to seat yourself once again from your kata
Oh, I
stance.
can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's better, yeah.
She invites you to reseat yourself from your kata stance and partake of the tea. And as you do so, her right arm reaches towards you, towards your left hand. And as you go to take the sip with the tea, you feel the tingle of her fingers on your flesh. Normally you'd pull away. Strangers, you know. But you feel compelled. And suddenly you feel her hand go up your arm and stop. And it begins to embrace your forearm. You feel a heat, a warmth. It's not threatening, but it begins to extend up your arm and down to your fingertips and up to your shoulder. And just suddenly your eyes shut and you feel this warmth start to overwhelm you, some sensation of peace. And as your eyes go quiet and shut, everything goes silent. And for a moment, in your mind anyway, you see this mist suddenly fill your vision. Gray and white smoke fill your eyesight. You see it begin to slowly clear, and there you see a tree, another tree, green tree. You hear birds, swallows, playing in the limbs. And there, standing between the trees, you see the image of grandfather. He suddenly appears. You see the face, the beard. You see him kind of hunched, and his eyes look up towards yours. You feel at ease, you feel at peace, like you haven't been for a while. You have done well. I am pleased with you, Cassandra.
So she just has tears in her eyes.
And
She just nods her head quickly.
as those tears fill your eyes, and your head nods, and your eyes close once again, you open them once more. The fog is gone. The face has disappeared. And there before you see Rin Sifixi. Her eyes are locked onto yours, no pupil. But somehow she's looking into your soul. And you feel the warmth and the embrace of all things that are good to you. She pulls away. Yes, you are welcome indeed to the companions. You will serve us well in the cause. Be comforted, my dear. There is good things awaiting you.
So she just has tears in her eyes, and she looks up with gratitude, and she nods her head quickly.
Yes. And with that, Althea, Sheppy, you're sitting there in silence watching this. You've seen this before. There's something marvelous, something wonderful about Rin. You can't place it. You've known it, you've seen it, you've experienced it. But it feels good. And in this silence, in this flickering light, you feel at peace. And this goes on for maybe a couple minutes before anyone says anything, and sips are heard only. And then there's a grumble in the background that breaks the serene moment, and that is Arthurian's stomach. Suddenly you hear him running towards the door, and he disappears from sight. If there's anything else you would like to do in Rincevixi's, you can do that. Any questions? Anything else? Otherwise, we'll move on.
Actually, Fritz, I'm gonna have to go. it's past 10.
Yep, 10:30 is
Yeah.
usually the cutoff point.
We usually play the 10:30. Sorry, I thought we played till 10. I apologize.
10:30 is usually the end point. So, well, we can end it here. What we could do is say, okay, we're at Rinse Fixies. You've had this experience. You've gotten acquainted, especially you, Cassandra, with what's going on here. You learned a lot here about the campaign.
Did.
And what we'll do is we'll pick up from here. I guess, let's head to the Dawnflower Library, that kind of thing, and we'll do that in the next session. And any other preparations before you... Well, you want to collect these things if possible, and then preferably move back in there and head for this little shrine or whatever it is, this altar, and see what happens. All right?
Yeah, that sounds like the plan.
All right. Is everybody good with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Before we go, let's do our outros one at a time here. It was a good session, folks. I enjoyed that. And, yeah, let's do our outros. Tell me what you thought about the session, what you're looking forward to in the next session. We're going to start with you, Althea. What's going on? Did you like that?
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah, no, good session. I always love more plot progression, and this just hit that nice sweet spot of, especially since the beginning of the session, it was difficult for all of us because we were losing badly, and there was no way we would have won. No, I can't see it happening. So I think we did the right thing by running. But heading back to Otari was it was a smart idea. We got to kind of, go more deeper into the plot after we had talked to Otari. And I'm excited to collect these items and see what else we find out and if we meet any more people. Pretty cool that we got to meet the mayor's daughter. We had not met her before. And so I look forward to continuing that.
Toriana. Yeah. Yeah, a lot went on there. Yeah, would you say Althea, would you say that Pathfinder is pretty deadly?
Yeah, can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, every
Just
time.
cutting out a little bit.
What happens when I mute myself, when I unmute myself from being muted, there's like this little delay before it actually says, oh, you unmuted. Okay, now talk. There's a little delay there after I click the button. That's what happens. But Althea, or Rachel, would you say that Pathfinder is a deadlier game than you've usually played? Or is my game much more deadlier? Because a lot of people say Pathfinder's not so deadly.
Just your game.
Just my game. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I thought so. I just wanted to hear that. Yeah. I appreciate
I've always read that I've read that Pathfinder is deadly.
Yeah.
And that the members of the party always have to it's meant to be successful if you really use a lot of teamwork. Mm-hmm. Try to get every bonus that you can to help your friends out, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. It can be, definitely. It's not like 5e. 5e, it's hard to die. But Pathfinder, you will die if you're not decked out and where you should be or where you could be and don't play it smart. You will die fast. It happens really quick. Even if you get recovery rolls and you die at level 4, that's doesn't matter. Anyway. Cassandra, what'd you think?
So I also thought it was a good session. From a character perspective, Cassandra's just had her eyes opened wide up to all sorts of supernatural things. I mean, from last session, she was just amazed that there was these things called flintlocks that were firing small projectiles.
Yeah.
But today, she saw a ghost. And that was wild. She got to see a vision of her grandfather again. So there's this world out there that has, so much more magic in it than she was aware of. So this is a big deal to her. And the idea that, she's part of something that's huge, that's been going on now traces, back to when this evil was first defeated. It's a little bit overwhelming for her, but she wants to meet it. She wants to make her grandfather proud. She likes the challenge of putting her skills to the test.
Now,
So from the character perspective, this is a very big deal for Cassandra.
I don't want to do any. I don't want to do any spoilers, but when you say grandfather, is that Cassandra's grandfather, or is this grandfather as
So
a
it's-
teacher? You don't have to reveal
No,
too
it's-
much.
Yeah, it's an older guy who took her in after she was one of the only people who survived an attack on her village.
Yeah.
So very likely, very, very likely not her actual grandfather, although I guess that would be a neat plot twist.
Yeah. Very
But no, this is basically what we would call today a sensei.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's from the character perspective. From a player perspective, I'm looking forward to us getting to know each other's abilities a bit better, so we can coordinate during encounters and things like that.
And that's ideal, but that's something I've told the players before. Let that come about organically, where your characters start to say, you know what, maybe you should always stay in the back and have those hammers locked, ready to shoot. You come up with these things naturally as your characters would. That just develops naturally as you play, and that's pretty much what's been happening. I mean, don't forget to fill in Eric about the key word here, pineapple. Make sure that's
No,
in place.
that one I got last week. That one I got last
You
week.
did. There you go. That's
Yeah,
important.
I know.
It's very-
I still have no idea. Cassandra still has no idea what Chapt does, though.
I'm surprised nobody shouted pineapple in this one, because that's what you did. Pineapple.
No, instead we yelled "run away."
It was less ambiguity.
Yep. None of that nonsense. Straight to it. Sheppy, Jess, what'd you think?
Well, Sheppy's upset that he
Uh-oh.
can't use his magic in the past 2 sessions,
Yep.
but definitely progressed the story tonight
Yeah.
with meeting the ghost of Atari.
I did share a
We learned
video.
a lot.
I did share a video. I don't think I shared it with you specifically, but I shared it to the group. And I recommend everybody watch it. It's by NoNat. He's on YouTube. He did a really good video on the Abomination Vaults, what players should keep in mind before they play for the first time. There's some basic stuff in there and a lot of stuff that's applicable now that you're at 4th level and so on, have been playing this for a while. That's very applicable, that will help you as a player as well as to role play. There's some useful stuff in there, and I recommend watching it. I think you did, Eric, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I posted that. You can check it out if you want. I recommend it. Anything else, Jess? I'll make sure you get that
Yeah,
video.
and I look forward to next session so we can figure out what these keys are to progressing the storyline here. It's interesting. Like,
You made a lot of progress tonight, actually, so far. Finally. All right, folks. We're going to call it here. Everybody stay on for a few minutes before I shut everything down. But, folks, thanks for watching. We're going to have episode 44 coming up next. Stay tuned for that. This session was live tonight, by the way. I didn't say anything. I accidentally made it live for some reason. But, yeah, it was live. I hope everybody enjoyed. We're going to be back again next time. So, folks, you guys hang in there, because it's only going to get better. Talk to you again soon.